welcome to The Melancholy Guy Talks Ethical Non-Monogamy. This is a companion podcast to my Tumblr blog, The Melancholy Guy, daring to be black, open, and free. The adventures of a divorced, open, polyamorous, African-American male. I am The Melancholy Guy, Calvin, or CPJR if you know me. And today I definitely believe that change I must or die I will. My blog can be found at melancholyguy.tumblr.com. So the show is basically broken up into three parts. It's going to be past, the polycule speaks, present, what's up with the polycule, future, accepting the change. So let's get into it. We're going to go right into the polycule speaks. And today, if you are a regular listener, you know that we're still into my past, talking about my origin story that I've been talking about over the last 30 episodes. So this is going to be episode 31, swinging couples, dating couples. And I promise you, if you've had too much swinging, if you've been listening from the very beginning, this will be the last swinging episode. Definitely won't be the last time swinging will be talked about, because this is an ethical non-monogamy podcast. But it'll be the last time that I talk about swinging in my past. And the reason that I've taken this long, like I said before, because I'm basically showing mine and my ex-wife, our journey through what I call the non-monogamy. So our journey from monogamy into ethical non-monogamy. It wasn't a straight line. If you've listened before, we started out with swinging. Basically, a deal was made to get into non-monogamy. Didn't have all the pieces together. Didn't know fully about what polyamory was all about. Didn't know really what swinging was all about. Didn't know really what ethical non-monogamy was all about and how it was going to look in our lives. But one thing that I knew is that I needed to have, or for me, I wasn't built for monogamy. I knew that I had to have open, transparent, free relationships. I need for myself to be able to, one, be honest, one, be open, three, be free. I need to be able to talk about any subject. I need you to be able to talk about any subject. I like to create an atmosphere of complete and total honesty. And I can't start off lying to you right away. It's by saying, I love you and I will never love anyone else. That's not true. And for some people it is. But I know for me, it has never been that way. And I've had to tell many people that lie because, monogamy. So what I've been doing, I've been reading from my blog, and I'm going to read about, and the reason I'm reading about couples dating couples, as I've talked about in our journey, we started out, like I said, swinging. And what we did was we basically got on some sites. I talked about that, and we had an episode about swinging 101. Talked about building your profile, talking about keeping a good reputation, getting certified from other couples after you meet them and hang out with them. Talked about, talked about consent, how it's definitely 100% consent community, but there are always bad actors. There's bad actors everywhere, and there's definitely bad actors in, the swinging community and polyamorous community. Big debates. I ask questions on my page on Facebook about why does swinging have such a bad reputation, and it would be better if many couples. My prediction, what I think is, a lot of couples that are opening their relationship aren't really but they call themselves be polyamorous. Um, Usually, from what I can tell, is usually one partner, wants to either get more sex or get more partners or something like that. But it's not really polyamory. They don't really know what polyamory is. It takes a while to grasp it, the concept. So, but polyamory is the name. It's the buzzword. It's the word that everyone goes to. So they see all these polyamorous groups and everybody's having fun. There's parties. There are parties. There are parties. There are parties. There are get-togethers. There are people flying on planes for events every year. White events, proms. There's conventions. You get to mix in and mingle with people into BDSM, people into swinging, all kind of kink conventions. I mean, if you if you got any type of freak flag, you basically get to the ethical non-monogamous community. And one thing that seems pretty cool is to be polyamorous. Because polyamory is kind of mysterious, right? I was reading an article today. I'm gonna get into the blog, but I was reading an article today, and then I posted it on the Melancholy Guy Facebook page, and I talked about it. I read it, and it said that polyamory was a sexual identity. It's a relationship. I know some people call it a relationship identity. For me, I do. Like, I am polyamorous, but it's not a sexual identity. That was right in this. I think the ad magazine was called. I want to say Icon, something like that. Anyway, but it was on my Facebook page, and the article was pretty well written, except for there's people are still tripping up on that. It definitely said polyamory is multiple loves. To me, right, polyamory is many loves. That's the basic definition. So how do you go from many loves to sexual identity? Other than, for some reason, we're hung up on sex, right? So if you have a relationship, if it's going to be important to you and include love, it must include sex, right? Because we have a hang up on sex, right? So if you have, I was listening to the In the Whole Uprising this week, and they had a Facebook friend of mine, Rosalind, on the podcast, and she said something very important about prioritizing our relationships, and a high priority relationship is the one that you have sex, your sex partners. That's the one that gets the highest value, and because we do that, we want to isolate that, you know what I mean? So that's why they view it as a sexual partner. But for me, it's not. That's just another agreement in the relationship, because all my relationships may or may not involve sex at all. So if it doesn't involve sex, it's not a sexual identity. Polyamory simply is multiple loves. I don't know. It's like hard to get that because, sex. People have an issue with sex. So, and definitely, I definitely had to go through a lot to understand exactly what was happening there with myself. Okay, so now I go on tangents and I forget where I was going. So, anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and go into. I've been reading from a blog. I'm gonna read like 1, 2, 3, like 4. One's like 3-word entry, and I'm just gonna read those just to focus. Okay, so like I was saying, I was talking about our journey. So yeah, we went to parties. This happened like from, I can't remember. I said, if you remember, but listening to the podcast at all, you know that we started like in 2011. Hit the sites, met people, met our first couple. I talked about them. That was a date. We went to meet them at a restaurant, went back to their place, broke our cherry, as they say. And then after that, we were just in it. We were just meeting people. Like I said, we went to a big club, and I talked about for single unicorns, and what we call uniforms, the bi babes, single bi women that are looking to be with couples. We had a few of those in our mix. That was not a big issue. I think most couples should start there and just date single women. Don't try to, hook them in, kidnap them, bring them into your mix and all this and that, and want to, put them in a little bedroom in the back and use her when, or it's not a him, it's always a her. Use her when you see fit. Just date, just like you dated each other, right? You dated each other, hung out, figured out what you were going to be, and moved slowly into different phases. Same thing when you're trying to date a single woman. Um, so that was in our mix. And I was going to talk about some more of those, but as I talked about the story, but I'm not going to read every entry because there's no need, because I'm going to come out of it. And the reason that I'm going to come out of it is because I know that I need to be completely honest with this story, and I'm leaving, I'm making it seem like it was all good, and it was a lot of good, but there was a lot of stuff going on with me, because I know I talked about, I talked about my addiction. Addiction is part of my story, and a lot of my addiction at that time was active. It wasn't like an everyday thing, but there was like episodes, and those episodes would, come out at the most terrible times, at the worst times. But it definitely at the end, like I'm coming to, and I will talk about this more next week, my exit from swinging and probably the exit from our marriage is, and when I bring on the guest Cam, we'll talk about spirituality because I was spiritually bankrupt. It's because I was I knew at that time, because of what was happening, that we were eventually going to be divorced, because we were just growing apart, right? So, but at this time, let me not go too far away, but at this time we were good. We were going out with other couples. And so I said we tried to join a group. So I talked about those, how you can find groups and join those and, get to know, find one that you're about, you know what I'm saying? That's going to be fit you. They got groups for big people, small people, whatever is your mix or groove. You can find a group that will, accommodate that. And I think it's a good idea to get in a group. Like we tried to find groups, couldn't find a group. So there were no groups, but you should definitely always try to get in a group that's going to be, right for you. So also after we got, left the groups, I mean, we were pretty much just still trying to figure out what we were. And through these, I'm looking at the entries. This is like February 16th. And remember, February was like the most busiest month that I made entries into the blog. I was making entries almost every week because we were going out like every week, a lot. And I want to talk about one specific couple and the reason why I'm talking. But I'm going to read this first entry. Put my glasses up here. I'm going to read this first entry. And partner non-monogamy tip of the week. This is on February 16th, 2012. Do not, and I mean do not, take one for the team. This will only come back to hunt you to later. Everyone must be in agreement, and there must be mutual attraction to everyone involved. If there is any doubt, let the experience pass. Another one will come along. You will save yourself a later headache. That is all. And this was we had to come up with a word. We came up with a word when we were going out on dates if something was going to happen or not. Remember, we had the rule, right? We had the rule about no sex on the first date, unless there was a catch to that, right? Unless you were unless it was a definite connection, right? So One night we were out with a couple. We went to Fast Eddie's. I think it's Fast Eddie's. No, it's some pool, billiards in Buffalo. Anyway, it's in DuPont Circle. I was working downtown, in DC, my favorite place to be, and we did a couple, and it was a interracial couple, black guy, white woman. And if you remember anything I said about Heidi, she didn't like, or she wasn't interested in having sex or being involved with a couple, a white couple. I didn't have that role. She had that role. So I think she wanted to just try this, and we went out with them and, got lit, shooting pool, had a good time, and went out to their house in Virginia. You know what I mean? And got busy and stayed there, and it got weird. They wanted to wear costumes, and here's the thing. I don't know. Like afterwards, like we got in the car and we're like, that shouldn't happen. And she's saying the same thing to me. That shouldn't happen. But nobody said anything in the party. Nobody said anything in the apartment. Nobody said anything while we were driving out there. We were cool. I mean, to me, it was cool because we got there, smoked a little weed, got somewhere. And to me, it's like a party. I'm gonna go along with the party. I actually had a pretty good time. I think she had a good time too. But I think the guy got a little attached to her because he was calling her the next day, like, want to go out? And she's like, no, I'm resting. We rest the next day. We don't go out. 2 days in a row. This is the second time a couple tried to do this to us, tried to get us to go out again. But he particularly wanted to go out with Heidi. And we didn't, that wasn't, because we all exchanged numbers. We always did that when we went out with couples. Everyone would exchange numbers, and everyone would be open to text. Everyone. We didn't exclude, like, don't text my wife or don't text my husband. None of that shit, right? So we would always have everyone's number and everyone would be able to talk to each other. So he was asking, he wanted her to go out again. And I'm already torn with the idea myself of, for me, I'm not getting these connections, right? The sex isn't great for me. The sex isn't something that I want to do because it's not fulfilling, right? It's just one-offs. I'm not into one-offs. I'm into intimacy, right? That's my original reason for getting into non-monogamy, was emotional intimacy. And also community. Emotional intimacy and community. I'll talk about that later. But those were probably the two biggest drivers for me getting into ethical non-monogamy and eventually polyamory. So I'm like, if you want to go out with them, go ahead. You know what I'm saying? I'll go out with her. I don't. It doesn't bother me none. But I was trying to like get her to venture out more. She didn't really want to, go out with other guys. Like she had the opportunity to. She had a couple friends she talked to. I think she was just talking to them, trying to make me jealous or trying to see if I would eject or object. But nah, I'm not jealous. I never got jealous. And I told her that, and she knew that. So I read that. The thing about this entry and why I read it, still February, is because I was using terms like partner non-monogamy, right? And I think also eventually we rewrote our profile to include things like polyamory, to include things like we want to build a relationship. And this was both of us talking about these things and having these conversations. I heard the noise. Okay, so I'm gonna read the second entry now. What's your agreement? I wrote this in February 22nd of 2012, and the reason I wrote it, the reason I'm reading it is because it shows more of the mindset. And here it is. I'm anxious for the day when you can just ask someone what's your agreement, and they answer the question simply open or poly or monogamous or partnered non-monogamy or simply complicated. And all these answers are just accepted as completely legitimate. No judgment or wide, awkward eyes, just acceptance and interest. Imagine all the possibilities if everyone had the freedom to just reach out and love each other. That's my polyamorous dream. Just musing to myself today. And you see, I was still in that belonging, and I was pretty open at my job. Not open to the point of telling everyone, but I did have like like I said, I talked about my work wife, Tara, and my coworkers, the guys, they were all cool. I was probably like kind of bragging about doing all the stuff we were doing, but not really bragging, not telling us too much. Just like what we did this weekend. We went into the club, swing club, and everybody was pretty cool, open. Nobody was like, "How dare you do that?" We had none of that. We were a pretty cool bunch. We were all IT guys, so there was no issues of judgment or anything. My boss was lesbian, beautiful, married, not married because she was legal, partnered. We went to their house for their housewarming and met her and her partner, and our lead engineer, our senior engineer, was also lesbian. Had a beautiful partner, and we all went out bowling together. So it was like a pretty open group, and we all could just talk about things like that. And I was just a polyamorous finger dude. Fit right in, right? So it was pretty cool just talk about. So it was like I wrote this. You can see again, I was still talking about polyamory, and I was feeling that closed box, right? Like we're in a small community. Ethical non-monogamy is not as big, and when you like we communicate on social media a lot, and we talk openly about everyone's not open, but when we talk to each other, we talk about these situations, our different partners, and all that kind of stuff. And it's just like we just talk about it. It doesn't really phase us about who's doing what to who and all this kind of stuff, except when something seems off. Like that's not poly. That's not, what is that? That's swinging. What are they doing? That's not ethical. That type of stuff. But it's all an open conversation. And then when you go out to a regular event or regular party, work party, or anything like that, you can't talk about that stuff. You have to sit there and just listen to, whatever they talk about at vanilla parties. And I was really feeling that isolation because we were going out with so many different couples and going out to so many different events, and I would feel it. Okay. So I'm gonna roll forward a little bit. So then I wrote a little. I'm up to March 9th now. I wrote a small entry, and I'm not even sure what I wrote it about. It's couples date night. Wish us luck. That's it. And I think there was the community on Tumblr, and I think a lot of people was like, good luck, good luck, good luck, for answering that one, or just like putting in notes on that entry on Tumblr. That's how it works. And because we were dating, and, we would hook up dates like almost every night, and it got to a point that my ex was trying to go back to take some classes at the community college, and she's like, I need to chill. I need to get ready to go back to school. You can't always go out. Now, here's the issue. We were doing partner non-monogamy. There wasn't an issue, but here's the thing. We were doing partner non-monogamy. We were dating as couples. Our agreement did not exclude me dating alone. Right? It didn't exclude me dating alone. It also did not exclude or people coming over or anything like that. You know what I mean? But remember, also, I'm talking about active. I'm in active addiction. Also, I'm not in recovery. I'm not telling anybody about this shit. So me going out by myself or trying to go out alone would just be like shenanigans. You know what I mean? Like a simple night of drinking turn out and I'm out a day or two, because I'm out here doing all kind of craziness because I'm not in recovery, and I'm not sharing that with the people that I'm out with, my truth, because I don't want them to look at me. I don't want them to see me as less than, you know what I mean? Because if I said that I'm in recovery, I need to do this, need to do that. Could we play close? Well, come on over to the house. You know what I'm saying? Let's go out, or do something like that. Or just don't be going out right now until I get my ass in recovery. but I wanted to live like what I always call a double life, and it just caused problems. So not being part of non-monogamy, me trying to go out alone, it's like creating like this little um, probably resentment in my head at that time. I would say resentment, fear, and just this is gonna be end badly. You know what I mean? It's just gonna end badly because I'm like trying to explore this life. Where you're my partner. We said we're gonna do this together, but now you want to not do it together. I could do it myself, but I'm not gonna be honest. It was just a mess. So that went on for a while, and we kept going out and meeting. Excuse me. Meeting different couples. I have allergies. Meeting different couples, and here's meeting different couples is interesting. You try to find couples that you both connect with, that you both are attracted to. Like I said, don't take one for the team. Try to match a couple that you both view. I don't know. It takes a long time because a lot of these people that we went out with one date, and then they would disappear because they would have people had kids and work schedules and all this kind of stuff. So, our we weren't being real swingers, right? So we weren't being real swingers. We weren't really polyamorous. So we're trying to build relationships, but the couple can't really go out as much as they would like to. So we would meet somewhere like National Harbor down here at the Gaylord, have drinks, talk, hit it off, and not hear from anyone for a couple months, and then we'll hear from them again. Okay, yeah, well, our situation's not the same anymore. So it was a lot of that going on. I think we were just in such a strange time that for us dating was kind of awkward until we met the couple. I talked about D&D before. I think I read the Exotic Erotic Couple. I talked about them before because we met them accidentally, and I talked about because we gave each other validations, and I talked about them on the validation episode, building your community. So it's like when we met them, we definitely hit it off. Like we had both of us were pretty known on the site and in the area, and we had met and we had a great night, but we had a night with another couple. So this is our night. We were going to meet them, and we met them. We had already known them. We had already played with them, but now this was going to be our date night, and we were wanting to talk to them about polyamory. Boom. We were actually going to try to date a couple, not knowing if they knew anything about polyamory or were interested in polyamory. They definitely were swingers. I mean, like real swingers. Like if you saw their profile and things that they were doing, they were like really into kink, high sex drive, a little younger than us too. But they were really cool. They were really cool. And so anyway, we met them down. I'm gonna talk about it because I'm gonna read the entry. So we met them down at the National Harbor. They had a timeshare, and we chilled, talked about polyamory. Good to see you again. Went down to the Cadillac Ranch down there. Had a couple drinks, talked, danced. I think they were named D and D. A couple named D and D. So we met them. I'm sorry, we were in there. I think D got on they got a little spucking Bronco things rides. So we did that, and we were like just playing the night. We didn't have any plans to do anything at all because we didn't bring any bags or toys or clothes or anything. So, excuse me. So we go up, back up to their place, chill, and next thing you know, it's on. So, yada, yada, yada. The next day, we leaving out. And then, we all kids talk to each other. Now, we don't know if they were receptive to the polyamory thing or not. So I think I wrote in this entry, and this is dated December 9th, 2012. So that's a whole year, right? I've brought you through an entire year of swinging. So we were definitely into swinging about a year and a half officially. And I wrote this in December 9th. We went out with a couple. Oh, it's entitled Progress. We went out with a couple Friday night. This is what they posted below on another site we belong to. It was really a great night. I find it interesting because I use a name, but the ex sent them a text this morning and actually used the word polyamory and family while asking them to consider more dates. Now, this was her, my ex, sending a text to them about polyamory and more dates. So that was a connection. So anyway, this is what they wrote. And I pasted it into this entry. We sat and talked. We exchanged experiences. We shared laughs. We walked together, laughed together, and enjoyed our time together at the bar. They got acquainted. We got acquainted. And we returned to our room together. There we continued to talk, share, and laugh together. Her clothes came off. Their clothes came off. Our clothes came off together. We played together, came together, slept together. We woke together. We revisited together. We left together. We had a great time together. What a fun and intimate and sensual night together. Thank you. That's hot. And we never saw them again. So, because they weren't gonna be polyamorous. They were swingers. Actually, what happened was from that point, December 2012. So after that, I'm gonna read some more entries next week, and after that, 2013 was the last year that we were together. My ex-wife and I. It just became more and more. I think it just became more evident that she didn't want to be in the ethical non-monogamy lifestyle or the conscious community. She didn't want anything to do with any of that. And the reason that, and I told you last week, or I think I did, about how in my search for spirituality, I went into some Facebook groups online that were kind of spiritually centered. I was no longer Christian, so I was learning more about, Tantra, consciousness, mindfulness, sacred sex, and some other things that were a bit strange. She definitely didn't believe in it. So, but a lot of that was, I also started smoking like weed again, and that's not been an issue for me. But it was just like she just didn't like it. So I was just around people that were very 420 friendly, and that wasn't cool. She didn't like it, and so yeah, it is what it is. So it didn't work out. So I'm gonna read some more, but it was a lot. It was like an intersectionality about how, for me, recovery is important to me. So honesty has to be important to me. So I have to have relationships that are completely open and honest. So I have to be able to share everything with you, because I can't live a life where I'm building up resentments, right? So if I know that I feel that I am not monogamous in the first place, that's number one, right? I'm not going to tell you that I'm going to love you and be with you forever. Could be true. Probably will be true. Probably mean it at that exact moment, but you have to allow space for change, because we all change, and I definitely want to change with you. Um, let's do that together, open and honestly. And then some people are just afraid of change and don't want to, plan for change and don't want to commit to the change. I think I'm committing to the change. Um, More than a relationship, I don't know. Anyway, so I'm gonna close that out. That was the end of that section. We're gonna move from the polycule speaks right into the present and what's up with the polycule. I hope that made sense. Hope that you understand when you're dating. Dating couples and swinging is interesting as long as you do it with intention, right? As long as you know what you want. Um, don't try to straddle that line. We were straddling the line of polyamory and swinging. We were leaving. Both of us were pretty much tired of swinging. It just wasn't it. It didn't hit the spot for us. You know what I'm saying? It didn't. We weren't the couple just gonna just show up at the club, show up at the party, and just want to get naked and start fucking. It just wasn't. That just wasn't us. It wasn't gonna be us. So I know that there are some couples that definitely, and the group wasn't us either because the group was shallow. It was mainly just to, so we were definitely, or I was definitely non-monogamous, polyamorous, wanted more of intimacy, more connection, and maybe she was just trying to, I don't know. Anyway, so that's it. Have fun. You can do it. But I say swing is legitimate, man. If you're a swinger, swing, man. Have fun with that shit. It's legitimate. You don't have to go into polyamory. You don't have to trick people or try to trick people into sex. You don't have to walk up in the. I'm gonna tell you this. This is what I learned, and I'm also starting. I'm gonna go into the present in a minute, but I'm gonna tell you this is what I learned. If I'm talking to someone and they say they're polyamorous, or I'm in a polyamorous space or group, I'm listening for how many times we talk about sex, right? If this is a straight party, right? Like if I'm at a black and poly meetup or something like that, we never talk about sex because it's not a sex group, right? Sex is part of life, but it's not always a part of polyamory, right? So if you're in a group that's supposed to be a polyamorous group, look at how many times sex comes up. Look how many times, if it comes up quite often, boom. You might be in the wrong group. Or might be a lot of swingers in there. Which is okay, I guess. It could be also just a lot of ethically non-monogamous people, kinksters, BDSM folk. Don't ask, don't tells, ethical non-monogamy, people in open relationships. But it might not be polyamory. So I'm into the present. What's up with the polycule? We're building a group. I'm working with a couple people now for a group. Right now it's called Polycules, Tribes, and Community. But we're working on a new name. I'm gonna float the name Practical Polyamory for People of Color. Because we're trying to build it around, we want to center the group around people of color, because that's who we are. And there aren't many spaces for us that are pretty vetted and that are going to talk about everyday polyamory on an environment for people who have been in living in the lifestyle for a while and are pretty sure about their polyamory. We don't bless newbies, but we don't want to share how we knew we were polyamorous. We don't want to talk about how we find partners, all that stuff. I don't really think that it's just funny. Like, I don't know of too many people in my circle, and I was talking about this today with Kim about, like, I'm not on any dating sites. I don't look for couples at all. And I don't look for dates or people, and I will never do that again. Not because I'm in recovery or anything like that, because I realize that's not my most important thing. And it took polyamory to show me that, and I always looked for that, Like I said, I'm active in life doing this, about polygraph groups, talking about polyamory, working, building businesses. So people will show up when they're supposed to. Kimberly did. Although she was with me before, this is a different relationship now. I'm a different person. I'm at a different stage in my life. I'm in recovery, and that's a beautiful thing. And it's good to get to know someone. But I wasn't looking for that to happen. It just happened. You know what I mean? Like I don't know who I'm holding space for, who's holding space for me. So once you're in the polyamory for a while, that the same thing in recovery though. You kind of lose that craving thing. But if you're in polyamory for a while, I think it just floats away. You know what I mean? Like that desire to look for people. Like I think most of us like have enough relationships that a new relationship is cool, it's good, but we're good with the relationships that are around us. You know what I mean? And then that's also for me. There's relationships I still want to try to maybe fix. Try again once they, once I'm, in recovery enough or stuff like that. But looking for anything new just doesn't interest me. Like I said, if it shows up, great. But other than that, I'm good. So doing that, and this is my point of view. So Kimberly will be on the show. Introducing Kimberly. She'll be on the show next week. Her podcast is going to be called Enlightened Emergence. I'm going to introduce her. We're going to talk about my issue and coming out of polyamory. And she knew me then, and she knows me now. She really knew me then. Like I didn't. When I met her, I was telling her. I told her the truth straight off. We were pretty good straight off, and my complete truth. And but I was in active addiction, and I wasn't able to maintain a relationship, but now me being in recovery, it's a completely different relationship. So it'll be interesting to talk with her on the show about myself and my journey, what she saw, and then I'm going to ask her about the group that we joined. I want her opinion. She is an ordained minister, Episcopal, been to seminary, got degrees and all that kind of stuff. Interesting to talk to her about, and I'll let her share her story, but it's interesting to talk to her like she's in the ethical non-monogamy lifestyle and is a minister. So she'll tell her story, and we'll talk about my story next week and then my exiting of polyamory. And then we're talking about how I'm doing. I am rebooting my polyamory. And what does that mean? I'm not the same person. I can't, I'm not the same person. And I know, like, when I look at some people that I used to know and used to really want to be around and was trying to chase their space and their presence and their acceptance and approval. I don't need it anymore. I have 420 some odd Facebook friends. And I think maybe 100 of that is family, and then the rest of that is poly community, conscious community. Some of the people I'm very close with, and I treasure them, and some people, I don't know. They're just in the community. I don't know if they're polyamory. I don't know their stance on much of anything. I don't think that I've taken the time to know them, so I don't know how that's going to work out. How am I going to... I'm going to build out this group with the two admins I have now, and we'll see how things work out and flesh out. It'll be interesting. So that's me rebooting my polyamory. I'm rebooting me. So also I have a couple interviews next week. Cross fingers. One job in DC I always really want the job that's in DC. So that's on Wednesday. So if you pray, send me some good thoughts. I know it's my job. Anyway, so that'd be cool. I'm in good spirits too, as a matter of fact. Really, really good spirits. Like I said, I don't know. I think some of it's just being, clean and having a better aspect on life, and just being positive and just being busy. Keeping busy, keep working, keep focused, keep moving. Regardless of what's going on, and also, having someone to be there for you, someone to support you, someone to talk to you, and bounce ideas off. And that's been good. That's been cool. All right, so going into the last section of the show, future, accepting the change, and I don't know. I talked about the group. It's going to be good. The future is going to be guests for the podcast. This will not be the last time that I will be on here by myself, but next week I'll have a guest, Kimberly. And then after that, I'm going to have the first guest who's going to do the Polycule Speaks. They're going to talk about their past. They're going to talk about their journey. They're going to talk about their ethical non-monogamy. And I'm just going to, ask them questions about it and see, see how that story could, relate to you and help you in your journey. That's all this is about, each one of us talking about our journeys and talking about how ethical non-monogamy or polyamory looks in our lives, man. It's just practical shit, it's just living life. I was thinking today about how if somebody asked me why I take so much time to, talk about polyamory and share it in my, on my social media and doing this podcast, stuff like that, it's because your monogamy is always up in my face. So I want to put my polyamory up in your face so it's all could be normalized and legitimized, because to me it's just normal as grass and the sun and all that kind of stuff. It's totally legitimate to me. So that's why I am making a space for it, to get it out there and let people, hear about it, learn about it. Don't try it. Be it. Make sure you are it. I'm not one that advocates trying this. This is not something you try. This is something that you are. All right. So with that, I'm going to close it out, and I'll see you next week. We're going to talk about, it'll get dark. I may get a little dark, or it might not, because Kim's you're going to like her. She's great. She's great with the spirituality, and it's deep person. All right. So that's the end of the show. Thanks for listening. Please subscribe if you listen. Rate. Great to get a review. If not, and so the shows are on Spreaker. The video is up on YouTube and also a Facebook video. I placed it there too under the Melancholy Guy. And on social media, I've changed everything to the Melancholy Guy. So Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, at the Melancholy Guy _pod. I think that's what it is. But if you search Melancholy Guy on Instagram, I tested it, you will find the podcast, and you will find my page on Instagram if you want to follow me there. I do post about daily on Facebook about subjects about polyamory and recovery. Also my challenges. I'm doing a 30-day intermittent fasting challenge, but it's gonna go. I'm doing it just 30 days of posting it. I'm gonna continue to live this intermittent fasting lifestyle. It fits me. So I'm gonna close it out. So always remember to love and respect yourself first, and everything else will take care of itself. Peace. Namaste.